depression trigonometry question. An angle of depression is formed from the point of view of an observer looking down from the horizon. So if we have the point of view and we draw a horizontal line and then we draw the line down to the object, the angle of depression is formed from the line going down to the object up to the horizon. So you can form a right triangle if you drop straight down from that point of view and then connect over to the object. And you'll see that the angle of depression is actually not the top angle inside of the right triangle. The angle of depression is equivalent to the angle of elevation. The angle of elevation is the angle that is in the bottom of the triangle, and it's where you're looking from the object up towards something. These angles are equivalent because they are alternate interior angles if you form a rectangle with these two triangles here. So the angle of depression is not the top angle in the right triangle, but it is equivalent to the angle of elevation. You just have to flip that angle down. There's another diagram here that just illustrates that you have your angle of depression is an alternate angle to the angle of elevation, and they are the same measure. So in this problem, when you set up your picture, it's important to keep that in mind. If it's an angle of depression question, then just go ahead and solve for the angle of elevation in the triangle. So a hotel security camera is installed at a point that is 7 feet above the ground. So I have 7 feet from the ground. I have this camera that's installed. And according to the manufacturer, the widest field of view will result if the camera is aimed at a spot 26 feet down the hall from the point where it's mounted. So from the point where it's mounted, if I go horizontally out 26 feet, that's where I want to aim the camera. So I'm going to connect now and make my right triangle. So at what angle of depression should the camera be aimed? So actually the viewpoint of the camera is outside of the triangle. It's where you form your horizon, and it's the angle that's outside of that triangle. So the angle of depression is going to always be equivalent down here to the angle of elevation. So I'm just going to put x degrees down here with the angle of elevation. The reason why that's important is because it helps you position your trig ratios correctly. So if you now have this x degrees down here where the angle of elevation is, if you look at the side that's labeled 7 feet, that side is now opposite of the angle. And then the other side that we have labeled is the 26 feet, and that side is adjacent to the angle. The third side in the triangle is the hypotenuse, and that is not labeled at all, and it's not used in this ratio. So when I look at my SOHCAHTOA and I try to identify which trig ratio is used in this diagram, I have opposite adjacent, and opposite adjacent is the tangent ratio. So I have tangent of my angle, tangent of x degrees, equals opposite over adjacent. So I have 7 feet over 26 feet. When you're solving for the angle, you have to move the trig to the other side. Now, you don't do that by division, but you do it with inverse trigonometry. So x degrees is equal to inverse tangent of 7 over 26. So in my calculator, I would type second, and then I would hit the tangent button, and then I would do 7 divided by 26, and then press equals. And that is going to give you 15.1 degrees. They want you to round that to the nearest tenth. So 15.1 degrees is, in this diagram, it's the angle of elevation, which is equivalent out here to the angle of depression.